welcome to Lokahi Backstage. I am your host, Jamie Ann Blakeman. Here, we go beyond the highlight reel and bring you stories from real people, those who have faced ups and downs, challenges and breakthroughs. Through their stories, my hope is that you'll be inspired to embrace your journey, find the rainbows in the storm, and always remember, your uniqueness is your magic. Hey, como mai, welcome. Today we're sitting down with someone whose journey is all about intentional choices and a deep sense of service. Alicia Goforth is currently serving as the Mesa City Councilmember for District 5. She's also an accomplished attorney, a devoted mom of 3, and a fierce advocate for her community. Her path hasn't followed a straight line, from corporate law to a family pause to leading in public office, and that's what makes it so inspiring. In this episode, Alicia opens up about the defining moments that shaped her voice and the power of listening and leading with humility. If you've ever wondered how to return to a career with purpose, this episode's for you. Let's dive in. Today, I'm super excited to welcome my good friend and council person, Alicia Goforth, to the Lokahi Backstage podcast. Over the last maybe couple of years, I've had a chance to get to know you, even if you just live a few houses away. And for many years, we lived side by side. I never really got to know you till now, and it's been such a great friendship, I would say. Like, we even walk the loop and hang out and talk about life and family and kids. But more than anything, we just love solving problems, from business stuff to what you're up to. So I love it. And I love how your mind works. And so anyway, I'm super excited to bring you on board. And you have a really cool story of how you got to where you are today. So I am going to start out with, you said in 6th grade. Let's start with a moment that clearly left its mark on you in 6th grade. You spoke up for someone who didn't have a voice and you got in trouble for it. But you said you were proud of that moment. Can you take us back there and tell me what that taught you and about who you are today?
Yeah. So like you said, I was in 6th grade, and I think my parents always taught me to speak up. And I'm sure there were other instances of that. But for some reason, this one really stuck out. And I don't know, maybe it was age, maybe it was sort of that developmental time in my life. I don't know. But I just remember Mr. Hoskins in my 6th grade class was, from what I remember, I think accusing a student of doing something she didn't actually do. And she didn't really defend herself. And so I spoke up and defended her. And he looked at me and said, defense counsel, you need to be quiet. Something to the effect of, defending her and acting as her lawyer or whatever. And I remember, and that didn't make me upset. It didn't make me wish I hadn't said embarrassed or feel like
even
I
if
should.
it was a reprimand.
Yeah,
it was like, don't do it.
Yeah, I felt really prideful that he said that to me. That he acknowledged and recognized that I was speaking up and defending her.
So maybe that's your first time that kind of leads you into I don't know how many folks really know about your background, that you actually have a law background.
Mm-hmm.
So talk through us about how maybe that moment started to move you into your interest in law.
Yeah, I think it probably did. I think I've said at that point I wanted to become. I actually wanted to be a judge, and then I was surprised. Oh, you have to be a lawyer first. I think I just jumped in. I want to be a judge. I want to be in charge. I want to be making the decisions.
That's so crazy.
And then I found out, you have to be a lawyer first. And that was when I was young. And then somehow it went away during late high school, college. I just studied psychology, got a general degree. So I didn't. And it wasn't until the end, and I actually took a business law degree, I think my senior year of college, and absolutely loved it, and kind of reminded me, hey, I think I do want to go into the law. So I took a year off between law school and undergrad, which really motivated me as well. I had this just nothing kind of job, but just a job you get after undergrad. And it was so awful. Like, I just hated it so bad that I was really motivated in law school. So anyway, but yeah, always kind of wanted to be a lawyer, but not, but kind of forgot about it.
Yeah. So you also share about a story about the law journal, right?
Yeah, that was, I don't know why that made it in such an impression on me when you could write on to 2 journals, and the more prestigious was the law journal, but the first one was the Urban Lawyer, I think it was called, or something. And I spent a lot of time crafting this argument. I thought it was really creative. And so a couple things happened after that. I think one good, one bad. So I didn't get on that. I got rejected. And then I wrote on to the more prestigious, and I did get on that one. But it did 2 things. It kind of made me realize maybe I had to work a little bit harder and focus a little bit more for the next one. But I think the bad thing it did do, when I look back, it made me less creative. I kind of went outside of the box on that, on my legal argument. Yes, on the first one. And I feel like I kind of got my wrist slapped just a little bit. Like, and so it has kind of really always made me, until recently, but do not go and reinvent the wheel. Don't get outside of the box too much, And so I think that's kind of a good and bad thing that eventually came out of that, which is kind of odd.
That is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But I think there are some things, I can even think as an engineer that there are things that teaches you, like, here's how the rules work.
That's right.
And I also think that sounds weird, but where I'm at now in life, so first you learn the rules, right?
Yeah.
So you learn the box that you play in and how to play in it, and you master the box, right? You just get good at the box. I think at some point in time, or I hope folks at some point in time start to understand the box well, because now you know the box.
Right.
And you get it really well. Start to go, okay, now what happens if I put my brain together and with what I know from everything else and everyone I'm learned from in life and living life, and then now start to put like your color on it. So like I can see what you said is like you're first judged on stay in the box, right?
Yep.
But then after as time goes on, you've learned like that there is something more to life that maybe sometimes you got to go outside of that.
For sure. And I got really good at staying in the box, especially my first law firm job. I mean, I was praised for it, and I thought to myself, this is not even that hard. Like,
did you think that at that time frame
I
when you were
absolutely
young?
did. Yeah. And I got a summer associate job in between second and third year. And I remember it was another summer associate and I had the same assignment. And all I did was go back to what they had done previously. And I pretty much copied the framework. And he did something else, and he got berated. And they showed mine as, this is what you should have done. And once again, I was like, but this isn't anything new. All I did is copy the framework, right? I don't know.
That's so
Isn't
interesting.
that interesting?
Yeah.
And
So
I remember at the time, again, it was shaping me. Like, don't get out of the box. Don't get too far.
Yeah.
Luckily, I mean, starting at City Council, I threw that out the window, cautiously.
Yeah.
But certainly, I've been
To only stay in the box, meaning, right?
Yeah.
To understand the box, I think that's important, but then not staying confined to it.
Right. Yeah.
I think if you're staying in the box too, you're doing what worked past tense always, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what the box was formed. It was based on like what's happened 10 years ago, or what worked 20 years ago, or what worked just yesterday. But then that doesn't mean that that's the future. So I think when you have vision and future, it's knowing that what was done in the box and why it was done and why it worked. I think that's important to know. But then if you're going to shape the future, going backwards all the time and copying and pasting from the back, like you're just going to live what was backwards.
For sure.
I don't know. Who knows?
And luckily I got some time, and I think you'll get into this, but I got some time to try getting out of the box when it wasn't drastic, like as a volunteer, because you can try things. And nobody, and you can't get in trouble for it, right? Because you're volunteering. So
that's true. But even the fact that you recognized it while you were in your early job, that's amazing to me, because I would say as for my own self, I think as an engineer, I'm probably 10 years of my career, I perfected like getting better and better and better and better at the box. So I was felt like I was mastering the box at every level. And it sounds weird, but the person who challenged me actually works with me today. And I would say I was in the box till then. So maybe even more than 10 years, maybe 15 years.
Yeah.
And so I happened to land at a firm that's right before I started Lokahi that had landscape architects. So Dean, so we'll call out Dean Chambers.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would call me in and we would talk through things. He's a landscape architect. And so he also did a lot of projects that had to do with roads and traffic. And I knew everything by now, like everything. I knew how to do it. I've been working for 15 years. I was doing everything right, got promoted through the whole system. So I was successful, right, at that point in time. And Dean is the one who challenged me and said, but does it really? Why? And he does it have to be this way, Jamie, and why? And he was trying to blend space between traffic and placemaking.
Yeah.
And I was like, of course it has to be this way because X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And he would go, but does it?
Yeah.
And then just the way, so I would say our relationship started off very, but he always asked in a way that it didn't make me shut him down, you know, because I think there's a way you can ask someone where you're like, well, I don't like you.
Yeah. That challenge didn't feel good.
Yeah. It has to challenge you.
Yeah.
But now where you're gonna go
yeah.
that guy, forget it.
Yeah.
I don't even want to talk to him anymore or whatever. But to the point where he challenges you to the point where it's open enough that you're like, dang it, could he be right?
Yeah.
And could I really be wrong?
Gosh, to have somebody in your life that does that is awesome.
Well, I would say honestly, that Dean is someone who started making me think differently, especially when at 15 years as an engineer, I knew a lot and I knew a lot right. And I knew a lot of what I was doing right. Yeah. And to challenge you at that point in your career. And then I would say that shaped this half of this career, right?
Were you already here? Did you already have your own?
So this is over at our prior firm. Okay. So Dean and I have been known each other for maybe now 12 years, 13 years, but that's, believe it or not, about half my career now. Yeah. 27, 28 years. So about right at the halfway point that he kind of gave me that challenge, and it got me to think differently, see differently, pursue different things, get into different organizations, talk to different people. I didn't only hang out with just engineers, but that's when I said, okay, how do architects think? How do landscape architects think? What does the economic development director think? Okay, how does my traffic play? And still I adhere to the box, meaning what's the important factors of traffic, of engineering. I still have to hold to them, and I know them well at 15 years. But then what are the parts that I can play? Yeah. What is the parts that we can maneuver around? So, for me, I would say that's been critical. I don't know. I didn't learn it at 20-something years old. It took me to learn it at 35, 40.
Well, I'm not sure it was it. I mean,
but it's good to.
It made me, I think I constricted, right? Instead of pushing against it, it started to say, again, if you get your hand slapped, then you don't do it.
Right.
So, and eventually I think that probably plays into why I left. It wasn't rewarding, and I wasn't, so.
Yeah, but you recognized it. I don't think I recognized it. I marched forward and go, this is the way. This is the right way, and I'm mastering it, and I'm doing great, and keep on going, and this is how everyone should be doing it. Yeah. And so I marched into I fell into the full philosophy of it, bought in 100%, rather than thought could it really be? I thought this is it. Bring it on. So let's go into this. So you went to law school, right? Yep. You eventually got yourself into law school.
Yep.
And then after graduating college, you landed a job. You went out and looked for a bunch of jobs, and you got a job. And then instead of your dad saying yay, hooray, your dad told you something else. Yeah. So what was that?
He said, don't take it. Don't take it. You can do better. And I was like, wait a minute. I thought any job's better than no job. A job is better than no job. I thought that was, which he's not saying, just don't work, but he just said, keep looking, you can do better. And he was right. Absolutely. So I just kind of took the first thing. Right. And so,
I think I love that because it sets your standard.
Yes.
It sets your standard that rather than life handing you what it's going to give you, right? Like your first job offer, it gives you this and you just walk in the door just because it's the door that opened to you versus you kind of having a little bit of a say. Doesn't mean you stop. You still look for jobs. You didn't say stop, but find the door that you're supposed to walk through and think about, is this the offer for you?
And my gosh, I don't know what I would have done had I taken that first one, because the second one really, I mean, it opened the law school door, really and truly, because it was such, I don't know, it just motivated me to go back to school and go back to law school and to do well. to like give it 100% and work hard and do well, because I knew what I didn't want to do. And that was any kind of just basic job that entry-level job that I had gotten. So anyway, I was at the top of my class. I mean, it really, really motivated me.
I love that.
I think maybe that's why it was so profound and stuck with me, because he was right.
And it changed your whole perspective.
For sure.
That's awesome. Okay, so you're practicing law, doing well, like get a job, and it's humming and chumming and doing really great in that. And then you transitioned into a pause. You walked away from that part of your career. So talk through some of that.
So I was definitely humming and drumming and doing well. I don't think I loved what I was doing. Looking back, I don't think I realized it then. I tried to get the most prestigious job at the most prestigious firm I could find, right? And that I could do well in. And I got that. I thought that was, I think I told you, when I went into law school thinking I wanted to be a prosecutor, and somehow got, misdirected, and the big shiny thing, the big law firm job with all the money and prestige got in front of me, and I was like, now I want that, And so looking back, I don't think I ever loved it. I mean, it was great work. The environment was toxic. It really wasn't awesome. But, and then when I came, and so I was not afraid to walk away. I think that maybe that was why, looking back. So I left the law firm the first time, took a leave of absence to go live overseas with my husband. And what's funny is he reminded me, and I forgot about this, I couldn't work. I didn't have a work visa or anything. Gotcha. So what I did, I volunteered, and I volunteered for a politician on his campaign, and in his office, which is so funny to me. I completely had forgotten about that, and now that's what I'm doing. But anyway, I thought that was funny. And then came back and had, easily got another job in-house at a large company. And liked it. I loved the people. The work was just okay, but I loved the people. But again, wasn't afraid. I walked away to raise my kids and have a family. And so, I was humming and drumming. And then,
so then what did your life look like after that?
So we decided to move states. And so I think I wasn't afraid, to walk away, because I thought, well, this might not be forever. This might be a couple of years. Who knows? We lived in Kansas City. We were from Kansas City. My husband and I always wanted to move somewhere else. It was always the plan. I was supposed to come up with my 5 cities. He'd come up with his 5 cities. Wow. We'd go look at them and then come to an agreement. Well, somehow that got thrown out the window. He said, I just want to move to Arizona. I was like, wait a minute, what about, I have all these, Arizona was not on my list. Right. So, but I thought, what the heck, let's try it. So I didn't know if we would stay or not. So obviously I wasn't licensed in Arizona. I could not practice unless I was with a company. And I knew I kind of didn't really want to go back to that. Mm-hmm. So I thought, you know what, I'll just, take a step back and stay at home and raise my kids. It's probably just going to be a couple of years, and then we'll probably move back. Our family was like, oh, you're going to be back. You're going to miss us, because we have a pretty close family. Yep. But anyway, obviously, we're here. We loved it. And so, but time just kind of kept ticking along, and I was never going to, I thought, I'm already licensed in 2 states. I'm not taking another bar.
Do you have to take the bar again?
So I did, because it had been too long. They didn't have reciprocity, so you had to. So if you'd been practicing 20 years somewhere and you moved to Arizona, you had to take the bar.
Wow.
They got rid of that and ended up, at some point in the last 15 years that I'd lived here, but I had not been practicing long enough that I missed the kind of the cutoff. So I would. Anyway, I eventually took the bar, so I am licensed.
So you did it twice?
I've done it 3 times. I'm licensed in 3 states. You didn't do the first one. I did Missouri and then Kansas. You didn't have to do the full bar. You just had to do the Kansas part. So 1 day instead of 2. And so
just 1 day.
Just 1 day.
Just 1 whole day. Yeah. That's crazy.
Anyway, yeah.
Okay, so then talk about those years that you have that you were volunteering, right? What are the different hats? So first of all, you decided you had a bunch of kiddos during this time frame, right? Became mom and then jumped into that role. But didn't just kind of only do that. You decided to jump into your community, right? Yeah. And so what wore many hats within the community, like you started coaching, you started getting involved in their schools, you started getting involved in our community. So we live in the same community. So talk about that. Like that was a stretch of time, right? Was it about 10 years that you were kind of in this moment and phase?
Yeah, probably about 10 years. I think I think I just saw things and thought we can do better. You know, even in the school, I was like, we can do better.
Going back to Dad. What Dad said, you can do better.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
That's what Dad said.
Yeah, it's what Dad said. But I mean, I just saw the way certain things operated as far as volunteers go, and a little bit with the school itself. Yep. I did some projects for the administration and stuff like that, helping them, and my standards were elevated. I'm like, we can do better. If we need to be here, I think we can get there.
Yeah.
And the other thing I saw is more people need to be involved.
Yeah.
And so that has always been a theme throughout all of my volunteering, is trying to get more people to participate in whatever it is of their community, whether it's a school or their neighborhood or their city. You do have power. You do. You just have to get out there and get involved. So.
Do you feel like that's getting harder today? Or how do you see? I feel like I see less of it today. I don't know. Like
I do. I think sometimes I say, I mean, this is harsh, but like nobody's coming to save you. Like you have to get out and help, right? Yeah. And I don't know. I guess I'm a little encouraged because people like you, right? I mean, you have opened my eyes. It's such a blessing, and you want to help your community. So I run into people like you all the time. So I am encouraged. Yes, are there a lot of people not involved? For sure. But I think it's more of they don't know either how or that they can. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Than that they don't want to. And so I think that has been like making sure people understand and know how to get involved, really, to me, is the biggest hurdle, as opposed to them saying no.
I like that. That's really I think the reason why I said that is I see a lot of, so we see a lot on the sports side of things, and I guess I see it less from the perspective, maybe from my husband's side of perspective, is there's less folks jumping in to coach or jumping in. Like the volunteers are a little bit, seems like harder to find. But I think what you're saying is very true, because I would say a lot of the roles that I am in is as a result of people telling me to be like, hey, did you know this is this? Yes. And I think you'd be really good at this. Yes. I'd like to introduce you to person A and person B. And can you just go talk to them about what that role might entail? So I think honestly what you're saying is that's also very true. People don't know how to engage. Yeah. And sometimes it's someone who understands where the pockets are. You understand that, and you can connect people to say, like, you would be great here.
I was just going to say, you just have to ask. Like, literally, as I've gone through the years, if I rarely get turned down. If I ask and say, hey, especially if it's a personal, if you send out a blanket volunteer, you're not going to get anybody.
Right.
But if you ask somebody and say, hey, I've recognized this about you, and we need that over here. People always say, I love being, look, somebody asked me to run for city council, and I was like, okay. You just have to ask.
That's so funny. That's so true. I like that. But I think that's a call to folks who see, I don't know that I always have eyes to think like I should connect this or I should fill that gap.
Oh my gosh, you do it all the time.
I don't know.
I feel like you do it all the time. Good. How many people have you suggested to get on advisory boards for the city of Mesa? Numerous. You've told me. You have recognized, hey, this person would be great.
I think because you asked, though. You're like, Jamie, like, we need to fill positions. And I'm like, okay, it's on my to-do list because Alicia just asked me. So, yeah. Okay. But I think like that's a call to everyone to think about how we fill a role in life. If even you're not doing it, like I'm not the one fulfilling that role, but then you know enough to like call person A, B, and C and connect them into these or introduce them to the idea of these things.
And especially if it's personal to their skill set. Like to ask somebody that is good at finance to be the treasurer on your committee, and it's that narrow. That was the other thing I recognized. People were like, volunteer me on this committee. And then there's 100 things to do, and everybody, I always try to narrow it down. I would like you for finance, please.
That makes sense.
I want you. And then people are like, I can manage that.
That's another thing is understanding time commitment,
Yes.
right? If you were like, they only meet once a month on Wednesday, and this is really the role you're going to have, because everyone, of course, is busy and balancing like their work, personal, kids, family, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
But I think a lot of folks do have the heart of wanting to help. They just feel like it can't take me down.
That's absolutely
take down the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, so talking about volunteering, so you have that phase of your life, but obviously you stepped into a huge like role, right, with the community, and you say like someone just asked you to like jump to city council, and I think it's so funny that you say that, because I can say like in my friend groups or whatever, or just like super casual conversations that I have with folks, I'm literally like, we will say like, oh, you should run for mayor. Like, we throw like, oh, like you're the next, president or whatever. We like throw these like funny things to folks.
Yeah.
And it literally, it hasn't, I mean, it's kind of part of what just happens, and it's kind of a joke, but you actually like did it. And I'm sure it wasn't like a joke, but someone said that, but still that's such a huge role to say yes to me. Like it's like you took that very seriously. Through what you and other folks actually saw this within you. And then, so again, that goes to like someone connecting you and seeing that in you, and that you have that potential and you would be great for this role. But you actually said yes. Yeah. And like you have no like political background really.
None,
right?
zero.
Like besides like all these volunteer things and helping out, getting really engaged, but really wasn't running this like political trajectory. Yeah. So jumping right into city council, that's like super huge.
Well, luckily city council, I think, is as least political of the elected officials as you can get, right?
True, but usually most people are starting on like committee and little this and that and running on like boards. Like you didn't even start with city boards or running to city leadership or, Mesa leadership programs or whatever. Like you kind of see that as more trajectory that you see folks kind of lining up.
Well, here's the thing.
I love it.
It's not about experience. I mean, it's really about the knowledge. I didn't have the knowledge, but I had the experience.
Yes.
Literally, running the HOA is exactly the same. It's exactly the same. Yeah. It's the same kind of issues. It's the same dynamics. It's just on a grander scale at the city, but literally, it's the same. It's your first form of government. Then your next form of government is your local elected officials. And then you go to the state. Then it's all the same. And when I see things at the federal, I'm like, it's the same as this. It's just bigger. So anyway, that was the best thing I could. So when people say, oh, get on a board or do the, leadership, to me, you need to care about your community and solving problems. That to me, you can learn the city of Mesa. I've learned the city of Mesa.
Right.
You can learn that stuff, right? But are you the kind of person that is going to get in the arena and try to fix things, and help people out and generally want to do that? That's what I would say. In fact, I've had people that have come to me and said, I'm going to try to get hired by the city because eventually I would really like to be city council. And I'm like, to me, that's the wrong path. Yeah. You can learn the city, but are you a community-minded person? Do you want to help your community? If you're not out volunteering somewhere, I'm not sure city council's for you.
That's so interesting. I love your perspective. Yeah. I mean, I still think you've overcome a barrier. I think a lot of folks would just kind of see themselves as not having the steps along the way. Like, I think there's so much fear, but to me, in this place in your life, you didn't have that fear at all of like going, I have to take like these steps before I can get there. The only
fear I did not have fear about the job. I had fear about the campaigning. I'd never done that. Right. I didn't want to ask for money. I didn't want to sell myself.
Because it's such a different thing.
It's totally different. And I'm not, the selling yourself to me was like the biggest obstacle. And so that was going to keep me back. That I could not quite overcome. Luckily, I had people around me that said, you can get through that part. I was not fearful about the job. I knew I could do the job. It was that part. And then what happened? Nobody ran against me. I mean,
but they put in for it, right? You said initially
nobody even got the signatures.
Oh, somebody got it.
I had word that somebody was going to try.
Okay.
But once you have you have to get enough signatures. Nobody got past that point. And so here, the one thing that I was fearful of never happened.
Right. It was different. Like we had you still had a campaign, but didn't have to go up, I guess, opposition to folks.
True.
Right.
I mean, I still talk to people. And,
yeah,
of course. But that whole, you should pick me and not this person.
Yes. I love it. Was destined for you.
Yeah, I think it was.
You're doing a great job. So speaking about being in the arena, which this leads into, you shared a quote, and I would love for you to read it. It's a long quote, but I think it was so cool.
Okay. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly.
I love that. So why did you pick that?
I relate to this. This sort of has given me the okay to just to get in and fail. It's okay if you fail. You don't have to do everything right, but you have to participate. Yeah, you have to get in and try.
I love it. Yeah, I even think, like, even as I read through this, for me, even starting this podcast is something very new for me. So I think even as we get older, it's easier and easier to be in comfort zones, and we kind of think young folks push outside, like, hey, go to college. What about out of state? Or what about this new job? Or oh, you're going to be a new mom. Like, that's so cool. Like, I think that a lot of young folks change as part of their natural life because it kind of has to evolve. But I think especially as we get older, we can get very comfortable where we're at because it's doing well and life is well and I don't need more and it kind of just works and we got the system down. But I love this because even with starting this podcast, I sit in this and I think to myself, like, there's so many times that you think, no, maybe I shouldn't do this. Like, why do I do things that torture me at times? Yeah. Like, it tortures your thoughts. Like, I love it and I want to do it, but at the same time, it tortures your thoughts and makes you think, like, I'm just not going to do this. But something in you spurs you towards wanting to do this. And as I sat kind of on your quotes, I got to thinking, like, it's really interesting. Like, why do I do this to myself, first of all? But second of all, like, I almost think growing up, like, no matter where you are in your phase of life, I think we should be sitting always in this spot. Yeah. That you're always sitting on the edge of, like, stepping to an arena that you've got some level of skill set that you can do this, but there's going to be an element that you're going to have to learn, and you're going to have to learn as fast as you can, as hard as you can, and you're going to have to find resources you never knew existed, right? But you're determined that I got what it takes to figure this out, right?
And it's not the critic who counts. I think that's the other one that really, there will be criticism.
That's so
right?
true.
But if you're not in the arena, then that is not the important, that's not what to keep focused on, are all the critics around you.
That's so true. I even heard someone once say is like the ones who will criticize are probably the ones doing the least. Yeah. Right. Oh. And I bet that's true. I don't know. I don't hear too much criticism on what I do, but maybe with the podcast we will. Who knows? But, I think right now my life plays with people who choose to play with me, right? Our clients who choose to kind of play with you. So we'll see when we put things out more on a public scale. Like you live your life a lot more public. And then there probably is a lot of criticism. But so talk to me about that. I know just because I'm part of presenting to city council. So I sit through a lot of city council meetings. I know what a lot of that's all about. Talk to me about how do you walk through things where they're controversial. I mean, you see a lot of controversial things. You have to make citywide decisions or at least area-wide decisions that are representing your district. How do you walk through that when you see, right, some folks are on this side, some folks are on this side, and different folks like here, there, and the other have different opinions, right? How do you put that hat on and at the end of the day kind of say, okay, my answer is no. My answer is yes, right? You have to, in the end, press a button.
Yep. Yeah, and it's hard. I mean, I think that's where the legal training does come in. That you get, you look at all this information, you take it all in, you weigh it, and then in the end you make a decision, and you have to justify that decision. The other thing I think I learned at working on the HOA is there's 100 ways to do things, and so I actually take comfort in that. My way may not be your way. But that doesn't mean your way's wrong and mine is right, or vice versa. But I'm chosen in this position, and so this is my way. But keeping in mind, I think that there are all different ways to do stuff. So I don't know, some reason that is. So I don't feel bad necessarily when somebody says we should be doing it this way. Well, that is a way,
Sure.
but this is also a way. So I don't know. I guess I go back. I think the legal training helped. The other thing is I always start kind of with my grounding principles. I always start every decision with that, right? And so they kind of feed through, and then look at all the other stuff, everybody else's opinions, and keeping an open mind too.
Yeah.
Listening. I really, really try to listen more than I talk, and hear all the different opinions and facts, and go into it with that. And if and then
I love it. Well, I mean, for sure. And sorry to cut you off, but I would say that's one thing I've really enjoyed about our relationship is you will ask a lot of questions like, hey, Jamie, this came up, or what do you think about this? And like, you really have a listening ear, like, I talked to this person, I gathered this, like, what do we all think about this? And you're really, I think one of your greatest strengths from what you're doing is gathering all the voices, and you always do take the time to slow down slow down something enough to say, stop, let's gather voices, let's pull them in a room. Would this be a good situation? What do you think? And you always are asking a lot of questions. I mean, that's why we can always take long walks and talk and stuff. But it's not just with me, but I've connected you to different folks, or try talking to this person or calling these folks, and you'll say, oh yeah, I got a chance to meet with those people. And I'm like, wow, you actually followed up and followed through on conversations. And so I think that I love that you do that, because certainly there's perspectives out there that you're always making sure it's not just yours, but you're taking in constituents, but you're also taking in perspectives of experts in the field. So I certainly think that you're doing a fantastic job at doing that, right? I do. I really do. I've been in some of those rooms, or I've just heard about some of those rooms that you talk about, that you've been part of it. And I love that. And I hope everyone does that, but I don't know. I just am lucky enough to know you.
Man, we have a great council. I think
for sure.
Every single person on there does it. They do their homework, they ask the questions, and they take it seriously.
Yeah.
And they take it heavy, right? It does weigh on them. And of course, sometimes you second guess, but if you do, as you said, if you take the time and you get all the information, and then you can justify your decision, then, I still work on, and then that's it. And then you move forward.
You got to land,
Yep.
right? Like, you got to land on something at some point in time. You got to say, this is the answer. We're moving forward. We'll see how it goes. And then you can always change things too.
I was just going to say, that is such a good point.
I mean,
absolutely. You can, nothing is.
Very few things in life
few.
are hard and permanent.
That's right.
You can say, this is the best decision we knew on this day and at this time, and we marched forward in that direction. Now there's new information. Now we've learned differently, and for that matter, things shift.
Absolutely. I think that we can't be afraid to do that. I think people, cities get hammered for making mistakes.
For sure.
And so I think they become, they don't do it. And so that's the other thing I've tried to get city staff to be okay. It's okay. We can make mistakes. I'll take the heat for it. I'll take the arrow, right?
Right.
Let's do it, because in the end, it'll result in a better outcome. Let's
For sure.
How do you? Yeah. Anyway.
No.
I was just gonna say, you can't. Yeah. As long as it's well thought out, an informed decision. Like I said, there's 100 ways to do things. So how do you get upset at maybe a mistake? A choice that turns out to maybe be a little bit of a mistake, even though it was, well informed and thought out. Let's just pivot and try something else. So,
I think that goes back to your quote, right?
Yes.
It goes back to your quote.
Yes.
It's like, if you're in the ring and you're dirty and you're scuffed up and you're sweating and whatever it is, but you played the game, right?
Yeah.
You played the game, and you can come out a hero in the game, or you can have learned that lesson or whatever, and pivot, right? So until you become that heroic person out of that. But I think that it all goes back to your quote, has a lot of depth to it, is get in the game. And I think when you're afraid to make decisions, when folks are afraid to make decisions and we just sit there, you are
Yes.
making a decision. And usually that decision, in my opinion, is a decline. It's your role. Because I don't think anything stays stopped. I don't think there's a such thing as stop, like something stops. I think it's either forward or it's moving backwards.
Yeah.
And so I think most times when you're not making a decision, it's rolling backwards. Now, consistently and at the same rate, and we know what we're getting, but we're rolling backwards at the same rate.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of envision a lot of things.
Yeah.
So it's taking someone bold to like say, okay, we're going to change direction.
Now,
Right.
I will not claim to be fast at it. Like my husband is always, saying you have got to be faster with your decision making. I over deliberate probably in a lot, but I do make a decision, and I'm good with it. But
well, you also have time frames, like you have meetings, and so you have to make decisions by then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's finding that comfort in that.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, just I wanted to circle back to one of the things that you had shared about that, just looking over the course of your life, like you've gone from a law, right, trajectory out of school, so, really good in school and fell into your law. Then you kind of like, I guess folks would say this is a little bit of a stop whenever people see your career, job stops. And then now you're in with city council. So it almost seems like now it keeps on going, right? And you said at the time when you were making those decisions, right? I don't know if that's society that kind of puts that on us when we kind of shift away because you're not doing any less or you're of less value in anything, I would say. But for some reason in our heads and minds, when we quit a job that pays us a paycheck, we are seen as stepping away and moving away from things. But you said you wished, you looked around as you were making those decisions, hoping you could find an example. Like, what does that look like? And, am I making the right decision? And you wanted to see some examples of what that is. But now, and you said you didn't necessarily have those like in your head. So you had to kind of trust your gut as you were moving through it.
Yeah.
And trust that on the other side that there was still some element of career or ambition or your talents being put to use. And so now you've become the example of that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now that said, like to those out there, what would be your words that you would tell like younger you when you're figuring this out? What would you tell younger you now that you are that example?
That is such a good question. And I know I have thought about this. I would say, and I think it's the quote I just did earlier would be don't be afraid and do it. Just do it. And continue, I guess some people will say, well, you were in a position, and that's probably true. Like not everybody's in a position to pull back and not work, right? I mean,
sure.
So in that particular, but if it, with respect to your career alone, don't be afraid to go after what you really enjoy and what you're passionate about. And if it's the job that's paying you money, don't stay in something that you don't love or you're not finding joy in, and because you're afraid you'll never find something better. I mean, this couldn't be better. I mean, I can't even, back then, I would never have thought that this was my path at all, but I wasn't afraid to say, I'm going to go in the unknown, and quit what I'm doing without knowing the next step. Don't be afraid to do that. But stay involved in something you love, right? So I think it's not as if I just, sat at home and then got on city council. I mean, I was doing things like engage in what you like to do.
I think it's always in a state. What you were always doing was, you were always learning, right? Like you were always stepping into places where you're stretching yourself, although it may not have been like associate to junior or whatever, that type of lineage that goes through like a law firm as such. But you were stretching yourself in the different hats you were wearing and pushing boundaries and growing who you were in that.
Mm-hmm. True.
And I always think like when we look back kind of where we sit in life, right, we can always look back in all the little steps we've taken along the way. And sometimes it may not seem like it's going to connect, but what's really interesting is actually, I think a lot of folks that I interview are kind of sitting in this spot in life, like kind of, well, you've done a few things, you see where dots have connected, you look back and you see like the parts that were passionate for you and became part of your story, and it didn't seem like it's going to connect into your larger story. It certainly does. Like the things you're drawn to, the people you're drawn to, the talents, or the things that don't feel right for that matter, walking away from things that seems like you should have gone, then that the world tells you to walk that way.
Yeah.
But you kind of go like, it just doesn't feel like it's me.
Yeah.
I feel like in everyone's stories, it comes out like why that works.
I
Like
think
from
you're
your law
exactly
degree
right. Yep.
to like all the hats you
And
wear.
not until you sit down and think about it. And so when I think about, gosh, I wanted an example and a mentor of somebody who did that exact thing.
Yeah.
You left the law, then you got back in the law. This is how you did it. And I never found that. And now that you asked me that question, what would I say? I can't tell you exactly what decisions to get here, right? And
Yes.
and I don't think I should. And I shouldn't have been looking for that, really. I think what's more valuable is to say, don't be afraid to step away. Don't be afraid to try something new. Don't be afraid to try nothing at all for a little while. Don't be afraid to investigate. And you know what I mean? I think that's more valuable than you should go.
Yeah.
Yes. Once you're ready to get back in the law, this is who you should contact, and this is what you should say, and this is how you get. I don't think that's as helpful.
Yeah, I think it's like it's a little bit of a trust on that you'll lean into who you are, and then trust the process along the way, and keep pushing forward. But I don't know. I love it. It's good. It's great. Okay, so just in wrapping up, well, you obviously are super involved in Mesa, and there's a lot going on. So how can we help support you or become more part of it? What do we do? What do the listeners do? Where do they go? I know, first of all, follow you on social media, on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Go to the city. And I know that boards and commissions come up when does it come up?
Every
Is it
year,
now?
actually.
Is
right
it around now?
Yep, that's right now. Yeah.
That they look for positions and to fill them. And
Yes.
the application is not very hard to do.
No.
You can jump online and create your own if you live in Mesa.
Yes.
But I'm sure other cities have the very same process going on in
sure.
other cities. But you can jump online and get involved.
And if you have issues, call your city council person. If you have questions, call. It is truly amazing. People will be like, "I'm so sorry to bother you," and I'm like, "This is my job. If you have an issue, so if you have something that doesn't seem right in your city, or you have questions about, call your city council person. They'll talk to you and explain it, and there's always places to get involved and help, and start in your community. You don't have to go to the city level. Start in your community, your neighbors, and your street or whatever.
I love it. It's so true. Well, that's all I've got. And I thanks so much for being part of this. I certainly love being your friend, and I'm so support what you're doing. I have so much peace in knowing our area and our city is in good hands with you and even our whole council and mayor. I think we have a great future ahead of us, and I look forward to that. And thank you so much for being part of this podcast. Mahalo to our listeners for joining us today. Until next time, remember to lean into who you were created to be. Your journey is uniquely yours, and the world needs you.